All right, Sal, episode 12. Welcome, guys.
Episode 12. Welcome to the Motor Marvel podcast, guys. If you're new to the channel, this is where you come for the latest news.
Yeah, and some cool stuff that we talk about in the motoring world that's happening, that we're involved in, that we see. So, welcome.
And events.
Yeah.
Guys, look, Christmas is around the corner, so Merry Christmas to all our listeners and new listeners. Just mention our sponsors, Exhaust Notes Australia and Hard Hat Watches.
Yes, thank you guys again for supporting us.
Other than that, Nick, let's get on to the news. It's ute time again.
Oh, jeez. I don't know about this, Sal. I feel like every episode we've got a ute.
It's
are you
relative.
a tradie at heart?
No,
because honestly,
it's relative to the country we live in.
I agree, mate. We've always had utes, but you are a true blue ute lover.
Yeah, I am. I would, if I was in the States, I'd be the cowboy hat and the cowboy boots and live in Texas.
I think you would, mate. So what do we got here? Tell me, because again, I'm a bit of a ute noob.
Okay, so we've got the LDV Terron 9 ute, which is...
It's a pretty boxy shape. Look at the front of this thing.
Yeah, so...
Wow.
Big thanks to Exhaust Notes, because this is from them. Yep. This is their article. But guys, just a bit of background on this. So it is a...
electric or diesel. So you get the choice, do you?
Correct. But the most biggest thing about this ute is it's pretty much something that's going to be competing with the bigger size utes. Right.
Is it... Oh, it doesn't...
Yeah, it's not... The LDV's already got the LDV at the moment they've got, right? This is above that. So it's a bit bigger.
Okay.
So it's more of an American competitor ute, like a bigger ute.
Not F-150 size though. It still looks smaller than that.
Look, dimensions are down the bottom here.
Yep.
So
I don't know what that means.
It's 5.5 meters, 5.5 meters long, and 1.9 meters wide, and 1.8 meters high. So yes, it's not as big as an F-150 or a Dodge or a Silverado, but it's not that much smaller.
What were we looking at and talking about last week? Is it in that middle range?
Between F1. That was the Super Duty.
Super Duty, yeah. So a bit like that size is what we're thinking.
Yeah, but this is not that far off a Dodge Red, like in terms of size.
It doesn't look that big in the pictures.
It does.
Well, it's large.
Look, anyways, let's not digress on size and a little bit like it's only, that's smaller. It's a bigger ute to the current LDV ute. It's supposed to be competing against the American.
What is it doing?
Okay,
what range is it?
It's giving people an opportunity to get into that bigger ute segment without paying over $100,000 for a ute.
Right, and offering a diesel and an electric variant.
Correct.
Non-hybrid, nothing.
Correct.
Fully electric or fully diesel.
Like we've seen with the Chinese utes at the moment, they're already hitting the market with I'll call them just normal utes, because these are the American-sized pickups.
Yep.
Our general utes, they're already significantly cheaper. Like the GWM entry is $35, LDV is not too far off. They're very, very cheap for a standard ute compared to a standard Hilux Ranger, D-Max and all that.
And the ones we're used to, right?
Above 50.
Yep.
So this here will then enter the market competing against the big Americans that are all starting from about 90 to all the way to 140 grand. Do you know what I mean? So this will then give the people the opportunity to own a big ute at a very
more cost-effective entry price.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which I don't. And the good thing is, it's getting tested in Australia. Okay. So,
question for you quickly.
Yeah.
What do you think of the styling?
I do like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
It's quite boxy. Look at that front.
Yeah. It looks good.
It looks deep.
But I like big utes. I had the Silverado 2500 HD, and I love that thing.
Look, I'm interested to see it in person. I'm a little unsure about the design at the moment. I'm sort of pretty keen to see that in person, see what it looks like.
But it looks
interesting.
So the good thing is it's getting tested in Australia. So a lot of problem with a lot of the Chinese utes at the moment is they're not tested in Australia. So when you get them to Australia, they are actually quite
average.
They're not the worst. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're bad, but they're not as good as the Japanese counterparts, because those are being tested and trialled in Australia to suit our roads.
And they're probably doing it for a lot longer.
Correct. But the Chinese are starting to catch up, and with this LDV, this one here, the Terron 9. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Let's say
anyways, for everyone on Spotify, because you can't see this, but everyone on YouTube, you obviously can see this. The good thing is they're testing these in Australia, so it means that they'll cope better with our roads and our potholes, because we've got so many of them.
We've got some fantastic roads.
Oh, they're the best. Australia's got the best roads in the world. Not. But yeah, so they're being trialled here and tested, so that they're going to, obviously suspension and all that's going to be
hopefully a little tune
to our par. You know what I mean? And you see this with a lot of, talking about suspension and all that, you see this with a lot of German cars that come to Australia. When they're not tested here, they're a bit too firm for our roads.
They tend to be, yeah.
And it's not their fault. That's another thing. And a lot of things break, and then people say German cars are unreliable, but it's not the case. The case is our roads are shite.
Yeah.
And when they get driven here for long periods of time, bushes, control arms, everything gets a bit, you know.
I remember, I think it was the original C63 AMG. My parents were on the first day of it.
Yeah.
And Mum was driving it mostly. And within a couple of months, she came to Dad and just went, "We need to get rid of this." And he was like, "What are you talking about? You know, you're complaining, whatever. I don't think so." Anyway, she goes, "You take it for a bit then." So Dad had it for a few weeks and he went, sold it.
Yeah.
He said, "This thing is the harshest, most uncomfortable ride of a car he had was the original C63 AMG."
Yeah.
Because the same thing, it was German European road sports car.
Autobahn.
You know, like, was made for that. Bring it here on the roads and it is atrocious.
Yeah, and that's, talking about that, and that's what really frustrates me, Nick, is that a lot of journos review these cars and will say that they're terrible on Australia roads. And they're not wrong. By all means, they're not wrong.
Yeah.
But let's look at it. They're not built for these roads. They're brought here, and until they get a substantial amount of people buying those cars, then they start realising, wait a second, we better test the next generation in Australia to accommodate to the Australian market.
I don't disagree.
Do you know what I mean? So you can't really hate on them for that.
You can't, but at the same point, you know, manufacturers are selling cars here.
Yeah.
You would expect or hope that they're going to be suitable.
Yeah, that's a fair point. It is a fair point. But if you're new and
spend my money and buy the car.
But if you're new entering the market, you're trying to keep costs low.
I get that.
You
but
know,
for anyone who's been here for a while.
Oh, if you've been here for a while, then it's your own fault. Yeah, 100%.
If you're not making cars that are tested.
Yeah, no, it's your own fault. Then you deserve to be.
You're an idiot.
Yeah, you're an idiot. But if you're new to the market, I can understand as a manufacturer coming, you're bringing something new, you haven't tested anything just of yet. Kind of got to give them a bit of a slack because they're just bringing the cars into the market. Yeah, but again, you're 100% right. If you've been here for a very long time, if you've had it long enough.
And if you're not making cars for our roads yet.
Yeah.
Fair
enough.
All right, well, let's move on from Ute, Sal.
Yeah, let's move on.
All right, Sal. So we mentioned this on a previous podcast that we're pretty excited to see what this could do.
Yeah.
And it's pretty astonishing what it has done. It hasn't probably eclipsed what we were hoping. We thought it was going to be
the fastest
or
in its class.
A GT3 RS rival. And look, I think it rivals it, but not quite. It gets close. So, still bloody impressive. We're talking about Ford going over into European track, like we mentioned. Porsches have still always held a ridiculous time at that track. It's still very impressive.
Nürburgring, by the way.
Nürburgring, correct. Yeah.
Look, like you said, we've been speaking about this car on many podcasts.
We've been excited to see what it can do.
It is a very impressive car from Ford because you don't expect the Mustang to go around corners.
Well, typically not.
No, usually ends up into a crowd of people. No, I'm joking. But seriously, you don't expect it.
Yeah.
So for the company to do this is a massive leap forward. I think this feels like the old days when Ford originally took it to Ferrari.
Yeah.
You know, that beautiful story when the GT40 won Le Mans and took it to Ferrari and said, "Hey, big to you guys because you."
I think they've had a bloody good old crack here, haven't they? Trying to beat Porsche at the Nürburgring.
Yeah, and look, who knows? They might do it if they keep testing, keep making the car better, and more R&D goes into the car. Maybe they will.
And look, one of the things I read about it was doing this time, and again, how much of it's truth or not, but they said it wasn't optimal conditions. So whether that means it was a bit of wet or a bit of rain or whatever there was, they did this time in non-optimal conditions. So potentially, again, you don't know what the Porsches did it in, but if these guys go back...
we've got the times now.
No, but whether the conditions...
Oh, right, yes.
You know, if the Porsches did it in optimal conditions, maybe that's the difference between what the GT did in where it wasn't optimal conditions. They might go back when it's better and actually do an even better time.
Yeah.
So we did a bit of... when we had a look at this, we came across here and...
Here's the records.
Decided to have a look at actually what it's competing against.
So it's in the sports cars segment. That's its class. So... Yes, a Porsche is leading, the 911 GT2 RS Manti Performance Kit with a 643. Now the Mustang comes in at a 657.685.
Still sub 7 seconds is ridiculous.
That is ridiculous. Yes. For what is not really a race car, it's a track car, the road car that is designed for the track. That is astonishing. And if you look at all those cars, if you're on Spotify, you can't see this, but I'll just let you know. they're all Porsches except for 2 cars, with the Mercedes AMG GT Black Series second at 6 minutes 48.
You've got Mario Ingle there, who's a very, very phenomenal
driver.
Yep.
And then you've got Ford at 5th place, right? Now, that is astonishing. For them to be in that list of German cars.
On a German track.
Yep. That is what that... Hat off to them. And it's a great time. Sub 7 minutes is insane at the Nürburgring.
And look, when you and I are talking, okay, they might be, what are they, 7 seconds behind not even.
Yeah.
7 seconds odd behind a GT3 RS.
GT2. Oh, they're GT3, there is.
Yeah.
Because you've got the 2... Wait a second. The 911 GT3 RS is faster than the Manti Performance.
On the GT3.
Oh, that's a Manti GT3. I didn't say that. Yeah. It's not a GT3 RS. I was going to say...
I don't think they've done the GT3 RS Manti yet.
Which we were talking about the podcast before, which they still haven't done.
Which we're still excited to see, because you'd expect it's going to be quicker than a 649 if they've got a Manti kit on it, but will it get down to 2 RS time?
Well, yeah.
Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Got a bit to go, but anyway.
But the Mustang, credit due to, all credit to Mustang, Ford, with this Mustang, is it's insane.
Yeah.
There's no way of saying that it isn't.
We think it looks cool, sounds mad. Good, it ticks a lot of boxes.
But when I called Nick this morning and we had a chat over the phone, Nick still said, would you buy it over a 911 GT3 RS? And the thing is, I'm sorry, Ford, I still wouldn't.
And that's for me, but what, and is that just us being...
No, but I think it's because...
Porsche fanboys? Or?
No, because I'll tell you this. If, for whatever reason, Corvette decides to make a car that's designed for the Nürburgring and do a stupid time...
Yep.
And you ask me, would you take a Corvette over a 911 GT3 RS? I would kind of be... The reason... hear me out. The reason being is because the Corvette has always been a supercar.
Yep.
Right? It's always been a cheap supercar.
Yep.
It's always been I'm the underdog, but I will show the big boys that I can beat them, right?
Correct. I can compete,
I can compete. The Mustang's never been a supercar. It's always just been a muscle car.
Well,
the Corvette's been a hybrid. It's been been like a supercar, but not really a supercar. It's still a muscle car. It's been in that borderline. Yeah. And especially with the
Mustang's never been anywhere. Really.
No,
but more like a
muscle car,
mid-tier muscle car.
Just been a muscle car. It's always been. So if you think Mustang, you think Mustang competes against the Dodge Charger. Competes against the Camaro. It's in its own. There's you've got the trifecta there.
I was going to say, it's more like an M3 competitor, kind of,
You don't see it. So when it does a time like this, all hat off to it, because from a car that you expect to be going up against the M3, like you just said, to be with these boys,
it's impressive.
That's impressive. But going back to the Corvette's always been semi-muscle car and supercar. Yeah. And now, especially with the mid-engine version, with a Stingray, I'm sorry, it is a supercar.
Okay, fair. I think I'd still own a Porsche. But I get it.
I really, really like the new Corvette, and I really want to get into a ZR1 version of it. The one we put on our previous podcast makes over 1,000 horsepower. Yeah. That is the stupid.
It's a pretty ridiculous.
I really want to get in one of those. But back to Mustang. Hat off to them. Well amazing time. But again, I'm sorry, I'm with Nick. Would still prefer a 911 over it. Yeah. Can't.
It's hard to say no to.
It is. You're right. It is. If you had them in front of you, you'd appreciate the Ford.
If you were talking to your friends and they said, "Oh, what's your car?"
You drive.
I've either got a Mustang. Not talking.
I know.
To non-enthusiasts, they go, "Hey, what car do you drive? What do you got?" I got a Mustang, or I've got a Porsche 911. You can't it's always going to happen, and that's just.
That's why it is true, because if you say it's not that a Mustang's a bad car, we're not saying that at all. But if you're sitting with a group of friends and they say you have a Mustang, they're straight away going to think, oh, you love muscle cars, it's a muscle car. They're not going to think GTD. They're not going to know anything about this. Right. But if you say a 911, there's the racing pedigree already there.
Correct. And
everyone already just associates that with a Porsche.
Exactly. And I think unfortunately, that's just not going to change.
No, it's never going to change.
So I think innately, if you're talking, status, you're always going to pick a Porsche. But I think we've seen here that the Fords are a serious competitor. I'm actually pretty keen to see if they go and have another couple of runs at it, if they can beat this.
Yeah.
So, see how we go. We know in the automotive industry and the world in general at the moment, people are struggling. And we obviously know Recaro has been having a bit of a tough time.
Which we put in one of our podcasts already.
But good news. Look like they're being saved. So
Which is great news because...
they're a long-term, very recognised, very appreciated brand.
100%.
In the motoring world.
Yeah.
They're in, I don't even know how many models of cars across how many manufacturers that they have these seats and, Recaro gear in.
Do you remember when we were young, every car you bought, you wanted to put a pair of Recaros?
You had to have Recaros.
You wanted Recaros.
That was it, right? If it didn't have Recaros, you didn't want it, right?
Yeah.
You're nearly sitting in a Recaro replica where you are at the moment, mate. But, look, they're being saved. So, obviously, a German brand by history, but they've been bought out now by an Italian brand. Proma, is it?
Yeah.
So, Proma. So, they have been saved, which is amazing. Again, such an iconic brand in motoring.
The Italians come in with a save.
Good job.
I was waiting for that. I was waiting for a shout out.
Got to take credit for everything, mate. But look, I think again, it's on one hand sad that they're having to be saved.
Yeah.
That we're talking such an iconic brand in the motoring world has to be saved is a sad thing, but they have been saved on the other hand is a great thing.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know if they're just saving them to continue doing what they're doing or whether Proma's going to actually do some modifications or changes to the brand.
Well, it says here, right, they're going to... Life that comes with significant changes. While the rescue preserves Recaro's brand, Stuttgart headquarters, it requires moving all manufacturing operations to Italy.
Yeah.
So it looks like everything's going to be made in Italy.
Everything's going to stay branded as is,
but go to Italy.
Manufactured.
So it means you're going to see designer seats.
Well, I guess obviously the Italians reckon their manufacturing's better.
Yeah.
Either better, cheaper, more efficient, or for something, because they're moving it all to there. Which obviously they have a plan to think that they can do it better or more affordably.
Who knows?
I just hope it doesn't. Knowing the Italians, hopefully they don't...
what, you think it's going to be unreliable? Shut up. It's not going to fall apart, alright?
Hopefully it doesn't fall apart.
Hey, we're known for good brands, okay? Like, there are good brands, Versace,
Mm-hmm.
We do all good brands, and we've done that for years, and we've done it well, okay?
Look, let's see. The Germans generally do a pretty good job. I don't know if the Italians can generally be commended on doing a better job, but look, I'm excited to see if they can.
Okay. We're known for good designer fashion. I think we're going to do very well with Recaro.
So what they're going to have is designer fashion Recaros now.
Yeah.
They're going to be like...
matching handbag, glasses, everything. It's just going to be like a full fashion statement.
Full ensemble.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you're going to be charged with a more expensive price tag.
Just to say you have a Recaro.
Yeah, exactly. See? But no, it is nice to see that it has been saved because it was a big brand.
Yeah, again, like I said, sad that it had to be saved, but good it has been.
It has been saved. So regardless, it's not gone, it's saved, and good.
See how they go, yeah. All right, Sal, so we mentioned Mercedes again, but for a different reason on our last podcast too. With some of the innovative tech they're doing and things they're doing in the motoring world. And again, just another thing that's popped up. Not sure how far this is in development, but something that is pretty innovative, I think, and could have some potential. But they're looking at some solar paint, which basically means the paint they'll put on some of these cars on their new EVs will actually obviously absorb some of the sun and turn it into energy, meaning that you're getting even further distance. And again, as far as renewables and energy efficiency and what we're talking,
Mercedes has been doing a lot in this. Like, hat off to them.
I like that they're thinking outside the box
and they're pushing boundaries.
Correct. They're pushing new tech. They're pushing boundaries. They're trying things. Although, again, this is another EV thing. Like last week was EVs as well. Still seems to be a fair bit of development in that area. Yeah. But this is probably stuff they've been working on now for a few years, right? That's now sort of coming to fruition or to, the potential of being implemented in some of their new models. So again, I'm just excited that people in the motoring world, Mercedes seem to be doing it pretty well, is just actually trying to innovate a bit with some of the new cars.
And what we're seeing
efficiencies
with the EV industry, just on a side note, is that we've seen a lot of this, is that it's no longer becoming... We were under the impression that everything was going to go completely EV.
Yeah.
And I think we've said this before in the podcast. It seems to be right now that a lot of manufacturers are pulling back on that.
Oh, yeah.
And look, there is a place for them, 100%. And I think when we had that episode with John really opened up my eyes. It makes sense for commercial vehicles, 100%. And it makes sense to people that don't really care about cars, want to get from A to B, so be it. But I think what a lot of manufacturers are realising is that there is the majority of people actually want internal combustion. They want different engines. They want different things. And I think that's why they're taking a step back
Well, I think they are, but I think what they're also doing is they're still saying that there's an EV market.
Yeah.
But if you can have the thought process now, right, that you've got an EV that basically charges itself from the sun. So say we get to a thing in a couple of years' time.
Yeah.
You have an EV, charges itself from the sun, hardly needs to be plugged in or anything.
Yeah.
You just drive it out, gets its rays, whatever else, charges. You're not paying for that. It's completely energy efficient.
Yeah.
Imagine we get there and that the batteries hold enough storage, they recharge quick enough from the sun, and you can just continually drive this car, cost neutral. You implement Mercedes braking technology, so you no longer need to service the car. You don't need to replace any parts. You don't need to do anything. And after 10 years, you just throw this car in the bin. It is potentially a very efficient way of owning a vehicle. We're talking completely enthusiast aside, right? I'm talking fit for purpose.
But how much energy can solar paint get? That's the thing.
But I'm just talking hypothetical, right? But if this is the technology they're trying to push, we're in early stages of it, right? I'm talking, say, 5 years to develop solar paint, batteries.
Look, and again...
And efficiencies in
it makes sense for people that don't care about cars.
Yeah, you're driving around town, your car doesn't need to get serviced.
Yeah.
Your car refuels itself through the sun.
Yeah.
There's no additional cost. That would be a phenomenal car.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's not going to tick a lot of our boxes, but for people going to A to B and dropping the kids off at school and doing whatever else, and being a car that, is, good for the environment and all the rest of it, it could be some really cool tech. So
it could be. And look, but we are seeing a pullback on that push for EVs. Like, we've seen that in a lot.
Oh, yeah, I think
Lotus just pulled back as well.
Yes.
Right? Porsche has now come out and said they're going to keep making... They said that the Cayman and the Boxer were going to go complete electric, and now they're going to go, we're going to actually offer, internal combustion or
and potential hybrid stuff and whatnot.
Do you know what I mean? I think Nick's 100% right. This is exciting for people that just don't really care and want to get from A to B and use it as a form of transport. Yeah. That I completely...
Which I still think there is a big market of that.
Of course there is. Look, in the world that we live in, there's a big market for everything. Yeah. For every niche.
I think our problem was...
Do you know what I mean?
That they were talking about just going everything.
Yeah, and I think that just made no sense.
And I think they've now realised that doesn't make sense.
No.
But when they're starting to do tech like this, that portion of the market where EV really ticks the box is only going to get better.
Yeah.
Because they're doing better battery tech, better charging, better efficiency of the vehicles, braking, driving, all that sort of stuff is only going to get better. So once that does, this market that wants EVs is going to have some great vehicles, in my opinion, that are going to tick that box. Vehicles that we will probably
never buy,
not really care about.
Yeah.
But for the market that can use EVs, I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, fair enough. I can understand that.
Yeah.
But yeah, solar paint, not a bad idea.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
So, when I was finding news for all you guys out there, and girls, in terms of car news, I came across Glickenhaus. It's a centre seat supercar.
Very interesting. Yeah.
It looks very innovative, and I like the design, I like it, and I did some more thorough research.
Yep.
So so just to give you background. So, James Glickenhaus is an American film director, producer, financer, and automotive entrepreneur. And he owns the manufacturer company called Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus, which build that car.
Yep.
Now, the name. It mixes 3 nationalities. Right? So, guys, Scuderia is Italian, Cameron's obviously American, and Glickenhaus is German.
Yeah. Interesting.
Interesting, and I'm not against it.
Look, maybe he's just trying to pick a little bit of everything from all 3 and create.
Well, you can see that in the actual... What powers this phenomenal single seat, centered seat supercar? It is a 6.2 litre V8 making 650
You'd be happy about that, mate.
100%.
With a gated 6-speed.
With a gated 6-speed. So it's
ticking all the boxes for you.
Now it's got a 6.2 litre V8. We all know what 6.2 litre V8's in that.
Yeah, I think
it's an LSD, right? It's from GM. We know that. Yeah. So it's a 6.2.
I think.
And that's a great engine.
Yeah, economy-wise, they're a very affordable engine for people to put in.
Well, they don't break as often. They're very cheap to maintain. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's an American V8.
Yep.
So who knows? Like you said, he might be an enthusiast that's giving it an American V8 with German engineering and then Italian styling, because it does have
It does have Italian styling.
Yeah, it looks nice. It's a very good looking car. And and there's more photos down here, and it looks quite intriguing.
Yeah, it's interesting. Isn't it?
But yeah, I thought putting this on the podcast because it's a
bit off.
It's a bit off. It's something different. It's not one of the big manufacturers, and I kind of like it, and I really do want to see if when this comes into production and what it's actually like. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no bad car. All right, Sal. So GM looks like they're facing a little bit of pushback. I think their anticipated market in China has taken a little bit of a hit.
I don't think that's a little hit. 12 billion loss as Chinese.
I think it's a decent hit, yeah. But from what my understanding,
decent 12 billion.
The main reason is the I guess Chinese brands and automotive industry there is starting to take off.
Of course it is. We know this.
Yeah, and that's obviously the Chinese people are buying
Chinese
cars and not as many of the GMs. No. And they're seeing a bit of a hit in their market over there. So obviously their global market's probably very large, but China would be a very important market for them. And they're obviously seeing here a decent decline. I wonder if that is going to continue as Chinese automation companies start being picked up more over there. If this
they are building a lot of cars. Like how we said at the start with the LDV, like that.
Yeah.
A lot of Chinese manufacturers, and there is more than what we think there is. There's a lot. We just see in Australia GWM, LDV, BYD.
It's the only ones that have made it here, right?
There are so many more, right? Yeah. We got the Jack too. I love how they called. I love how the Chinese called the Jack.
Yeah.
So imagine being that marketing team making a.
What do we call this
for the Australian market? What do we call it? Let's look up some Aussie names. Tom, John, Bob, Jack. Let's call it the Jack.
Done.
Jack. It will resonate with all the Australians, right? I love how they call it the Jack, right? Anyways, you've got the Jack. Then you got BYD Shark.
Yep.
I do like how BYD call all their cars named off animals from the ocean.
Yeah. Look, I think it's pretty cool.
Shark is a mad name for a ute. It is a mad name for a ute. I don't disagree with that.
I don't shark.
Yeah, I don't know shark. Like, that's mad. But yeah, like Nick was saying.
I think this is just again a sign of the movement in the market at the moment with the automotive industry, and China's obviously making some big waves, and GM are filling those waves.
So yeah.
But anyway, I think that's probably about all we had to talk about today, Sal. So
yeah. Other than that, guys, just to give you a bit of an idea what's happening in the new year. So, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, by the way, to all of our listeners.
I wish you a fantastic holiday period. So, Christmas, New Year's and all that, guys.
Yeah, have a great time. The podcast will be pausing over the break for about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Just due to Christmas and New Year's Eve. And Nick is going to Japan.
Yep, going away for a bit. So we're going to obviously spend a bit of family time, enjoying the holidays.
So when are we back?
Hope you guys too. So yeah, we'll probably be back maybe second half of Jan.
Second half of Jan we're back. But don't worry.
Stay tuned.
I will still be here and doing content on the Instagram and YouTube channel. There'll still be video reviews and all that. It's just the podcast will be paused for a while. So I'm sorry. If you're a regular listener, we apologise for that, but we will be back.
Yeah, enjoy the holidays, and we'll come back with 2025 with some
plans, news, events, everything like that. But other than that, don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from me and Nick. And
thanks for a great 2024.
Yeah,
thanks, guys.
Catch us next year.